Both Green Day and blink-182 have obviously been very influential to the pop-punk genre, but which of these two bands has ultimately been more influential overall? While this is a very difficult question to answer definitively in any objective sense, and a solid case could certainly be made for either band, this video will proceed to reveal the absolutely correct answer to this question. So both bands have sold millions of albums and have had numerous hit songs over the years, and both bands have been important gateway bands who, through relatively simple but memorable guitar riffs, also have motivated many people, including me, to start playing guitar to learn them. And Green Day were instrumental to defining and bringing pop-punk, and also punk rock in general, into the mainstream in the mid to late 90s, while Blink-182 was very influential in particular on the next wave of pop-punk bands in the early to mid 2000s. And I should just note that there have, of course, been a number of other very influential pop-punk bands, including bands like Paramore, who have especially been influential for many female-fronted bands, Fall Out Boy, who helped discover and sign bands like Panic! At the Disco, who have been influential in their own right, and New Found Glory and Sum 41, where the latter two bands were important for the development of the metalcore-influenced subgenre of pop-punk called easycore, and both bands are also considered by many to be part of what has been called the Big Four of pop-punk. And it's also true that All Time Low got their name from a New Found Glory song. It seems, though, that Green Day and Blink-182 really stand out from the rest as the two biggest and most influential pop-punk bands of all time, and also as two of the most influential rock bands of the last 30 years. So first, the case for Green Day as the most influential pop-punk band. Green Day are almost certainly the biggest and most commercially successful pop-punk band of all time, and they have arguably had more commercial hits than any other pop-punk band, while their 1994 album Dookie is easily the best-selling pop-punk album and is also just one of the best-selling albums of all time, period. And it was actually just certified 20 times platinum by the RIAA on September 16, 2024 for selling 20 million copies in the US alone. And Dookie is surely one of the most influential pop-punk albums, being cited as an influence for both punk rock and pop-punk bands. In addition, their 2004 comeback album American Idiot, a concept album with a story centering on the Jesus of Suburbia, was arguably just as successful and influential as Dookie in appealing to a younger generation, and it probably influenced albums like My Chemical Romance's 2006 album The Black Parade, which was also a concept album, and Sum 41's 2007 politically themed album Underclass Hero, which had similarities to American Idiot. Furthermore, Green Day was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2015, which was the first year they were eligible, while Blink-182, as of 2024, has not been inducted or even been nominated despite having been eligible since 2020. And as for the argument in favor of Blink-182 being the most influential, numerous pop-punk bands since the release of Blink-182's 1999 album Enema of the State, including many prominent bands like Panic! At the Disco and All Time Low, both of whom started out as Blink-182 cover bands, as well as Fall Out Boy, have all cited Blink-182 as a significant influence on them. And in fact, their influence was arguably so widespread among bands of the time period that Joel Madden of Good Charlotte made the claim that anyone in our genre would be lying if they said they weren't influenced by Blink-182. Although it's also true that many bands also cite Green Day as an influence. The vocal style of Blink-182, especially the distinctive vocal style of Tom DeLonge, which involves some kind of nasally exaggerated Californian accent, and their super poppy nursery rhyme-like melodies, their youthful, rebellious, crude, and fun lyrical themes and image, and their more accessible production style are all closer to the characteristics of the wave of pop-punk bands in the early and mid-2000s, which consisted of popular bands like Good Charlotte, Simple Plan, Yellow Card, and Bowling for Soup. And comparatively, Green Day's sound, while also very melodic, arguably more closely resembled a more straightforward punk rock sound that still retained elements of the genre's vocal and production style, as well as many of punk rock's political and anti-authority themes. And it's worth noting that Blink-182 drummer Travis Barker collaborated with what feels like just about every single person involved in the pop-punk revival that happened a few years back, and so there's no doubt that he had a big impact on the production and sound of those artists. So ultimately, given these arguments, it's my view that Blink-182 edges out Green Day as the most influential band and is the biggest single influence on the pop-punk genre. While certainly no one can deny the massive success and influence of Green Day on so many bands in the past and present, and Green Day certainly paved the way for so many bands, including Blink-182, and Blink-182 themselves were even influenced by Green Day, it's my view that Blink-182 still has had more direct influence on the overall sound and characteristics of modern pop-punk as it is commonly understood today when compared to Green Day or to anyone else, and they should get the most credit for the thousands of similar-sounding pop-punk bands that exist today, although as mentioned, plenty of other bands have also helped to shape, diversify, and evolve the pop-punk sound over time. And this is, of course, all just my opinion, and I am biased too because Blink-182 is probably my all-time favorite band, although I am a huge Green Day fan too. Well, thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content like this. And also please leave a comment if you'd be interested in sharing your thoughts on who you think is the most influential pop punk band. Alright, well thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.